Across continents, cultures, and cities, the built environment reflects how we live, work, and connect. From architecture and engineering to construction and infrastructure, this podcast is a space to explore, understand, and reflect on our global industry. I'm Aytan Seyumli, and this is the AEC Global Podcast, exploring the ideas and processes behind the AEC world. Hello, everyone. Today we are joined by Jaime Parsons, an urban designer, placemaker, strategic planner with experience across Australia and Saudi Arabia. Jaime, can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes. So thank you very much for having me here. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a great honour to be part of this podcast, and it's also fantastic to be here at Wolf 13 in beautiful Baku. First time here, and greatly enjoying the city, the people, and the fantastic architecture and urbanism. So my name is Jaime Parsons. And I grew up in Spain and spent most of my professional life in Australia, with a little bit in the Solomon Islands and more recently in Saudi Arabia.
Thank you. Can you tell us about your professional journey as an architect so far? Where did you study architecture, and how did your education shape your perspective?
Yes, so it's quite interesting because I'm, as you said, I'm an urban designer, placemaker, and strategic planner, but I never studied architecture. So my original background was actually tourism. So my first degree was tourism back in Spain, which is commerce, a degree in commerce with some languages, and also has a bit of sociology and other sort of human aspects that you need to make for great tourism experiences. So in a sense, curiously, having studied tourism made me appreciate the importance of human experience and economic models. So if you, I think as you start to go from the scale of the individual building, and you start to talk about, spaces, public realm, like you do mostly in urban design, and then when you go further up with strategic planning, it's important to understand that the form, shape, and function of the city has an enormous amount of social and economic rules embedded in. If you just think it's design, I think you're missing a lot of what actually shapes the city. So that's
that is the point, that we have to attract so many stakeholders when we design cities. It is not only architect that can think like aesthetic or functional thing. We should involve so many parties, and this is the very interesting point that your background is coming from tourism.
Yes. And so worked a little bit in tourism, and then I realized my true passion's always been cities. I love architecture, but more than architecture, I love the emergent complexity, like everything that happens in cities. It's been argued, it's been said that cities are probably the most complex of human creations, because it's made out of all of these individual desires and wants and needs, and obviously infrastructure and everything, and the culture goes with it is immensely complex. So they're like, you can never stop discovering things about cities, and that's what makes me passionate about urban design.
But can you explain us briefly how long it takes you bring you from tourism to urban design? You take another course or study again?
So I did tourism in Spain, as I was saying. Then I actually spent a year in Ireland, and I was doing tourism marketing. Then I was actually in Oxford, did my first master's, which was tourism planning and development, which was closer to urban aspects. And eventually I went to Australia, to Melbourne, and at the University of Melbourne, that's where I did urban design as a master's.
That's impressive. I think we already talked about that, but I want to ask again if you have something to add. What first inspired you to work in urban design and placemaking?
So as I was saying, I've got a fascination for cities, and that fascination for cities led me to urban design. But also later, as I practiced for a few years, quite a bit in local government in cities, in Australia, I got more and more interested as well about the human side of things. So to develop plans, what are called like structure plans, which are a set of rules that define an area. They're more rules based than a typical master plan. So as I was doing things like structure planning in Melbourne, I spent more and more time doing engagement. Engagement with ministries, engagement with local communities, landowners, developers, and then I'd become more and more interested in the aspect of people, organizations as agents of their own change, and that's what took me to placemaking. And that's where my sort of evolution has gone.
It is really good topic we are coming in right now, because I also initiated placemaking Azerbaijan 6 months ago. We just started with the interview, then they attend the podcast, then right somewhere, then today we already finished our fifth, it is fourth session here, and two workshop, and attracting several agencies, several parties. Now my main focus in Azerbaijan, because I just started there, and this is very interesting to me, how to do that, where to start. I always ask someone who has experience like you.
Yes. Where to start? I think one of the beautiful things about the concept of placemaking is that it's a concept open to all. So I don't think there's an exact place where to start. The only thing I've seen in common, and having met now quite a few famous placemakers, having done some placemaking projects myself when I was in charge of a placemaking team in a city, was really that you've got to do partnerships. That's the most important thing about placemaking.
Exactly.
And about letting go. It's in a weird way, it's the opposite of design. It's like, sometimes, as a designer, you can get very precious, with your output. Placemaking is the opposite. You just got to let go, create a process that enables people to express themselves, to contribute. If you do that, it will work.
Our main focus is child-friendly environment. Like
Beautiful.
People-centered and main family-centered place, and not creating playgrounds, making everywhere for it child-friendly. And we shouldn't think it to be perfectionist. We just should create some places that can gather children, families, and do something. Not doing anything.
And congratulations, by the way, for starting.
Oh, thank you.
It's always difficult when you start something new and you've got to explain it and you've got to build new partnerships, but congratulations.
Exactly. In your opinion, Jaime, what makes a city truly successful for people? Is it about design, community, or mobility?
Well, I'll use the get out of jail card, the easy answer. It's all of the above. It's everything. So I would say a truly successful city is one that enables its people, its businesses, its and also its government initiatives to be fully realized. Okay, and that obviously depends a lot on the culture, the economy, etc. So what a successful city looks like and functions will vary. So a successful, Baku is going to be different from, for example, a city where I grew up in Madrid, in Spain. They're different places. However, what you will have in common is people that are that have a sense of ownership and connection to their place and a sense of fulfillment. Not simply not happy, but really connected.
Exactly. Yesterday I talked with one of my friends from a non-profit organization that came here in Azerbaijan about the city, how city grows. Day by day, step by step. She told me we should always look in good side, positive side, because For example, Italy starts with, for example, its urbanization,
Yes.
its environment, its climate, and its people. You know, every part affects its part of growing, and also Baku.
Yes.
You should. Yeah, she mentioned so many good and positive things of go feedback about Baku, and tell that everything starts step by step, and like nothing created by one day, and we should we should just support and give time for everything.
That is a brilliant comment by your friend, by your colleague. One thing I have noticed is that a lot of the times, out of sometimes good intentions, good political intentions, goodwill, there's a desire to change a place overnight. There's a desire to accelerate things very fast. But the reality is that if there's one thing that I think architecture, urban design, strategic planning, urban planning and placemaking have in common, is that real valuable change requires time. It's very, very difficult to change a city or a place, and to do it properly, it's better to change all of the systems, and that takes time. And you've got to be patient. Like, I'll give you an example. There's some projects that I did the initial planning for, and the initial sort of concept design and rules for, now close to 20 years ago, and now they're coming to fruition in the outskirts of Melbourne. That's how long it takes.
Exactly.
There's no shortcut, there's no silver bullet.
Exactly.
No silver bullet.
Exactly. When we analyze the country, when we analyze the change, we should consider its resource, its climate, its maybe social and political environment, and that time what happened. And you are right. Then you have worked in Australia and now Saudi Arabia. What are the biggest differences you have noticed?
So I'm still quite new to Saudi Arabia, so I don't fully, claim to understand everything in Saudi Arabia. I've been there now a bit over 6 months. So I can say, well, there's one immediate, obvious big difference. Australia is a much more decentralized country. What does that mean? So it means that the governance, it means that a lot of the economic aspects, social aspects are really not run from a central location. So the capital of Australia, for those that don't know, your podcast is Canberra, no? But Canberra, as the capital, has no real powers in urbanism. Okay, so there's no centralized planning for the whole of the country when it comes to urbanism. So that's devolved, it's brought to the states, and then the local governments. In actual fact, it's the individual cities that have the most power when it comes to urbanism. And that happens with everything, NGOs, companies, everything. So that's a very big difference. Obviously, in Saudi Arabia, it's a very wealthy but centralized country, and so what comes out of the Council of Ministers, what comes from Riyadh, and from the ministries in particular, they're very, some of them are very efficient and very good, but they're very good in what they do, in their remit. So it's very centralized. So part of the work we're doing is also helping in our own way, in a small measure, to assist the regional development authorities who are starting to do the planning for their area, their areas. So that's an enormous transformation, and so that's a big difference there.
So in that stage, you also start to consider then other environment to make more centralized, right?
Yes. So now what's happening is, through this process of having these regional and local plans, the provinces themselves have ownership of. It means that in the case of of, let's say, Eastern Province, Sharia, they will have their own plans. And so what works for Sharia might not necessarily be the best for Makkah, you know. But now they're going to be able to do that. They're going to be able to say, oh, this is better for us. We want these sort of infrastructure. We want these sort of land uses and change, you know, that works for our region.
This is not like a professional question, but
Yes.
the weather is different, right?
The weather.
Arabia
Yes.
Well,
The weather is different. It is, but also Australia has very dry and very hot places as well.
Oh, okay.
There's massive deserts in Australia, but the majority of people don't live there. So the biggest difference in some ways isn't exactly the weather, it's the fact of where people live.
Exactly.
So in the very dry and hot places of Australia, like in Central Australia, there's a small small city called Alice Springs. The population is small, you know, like 100,000 actually, you know. Whereas in Central Saudi Arabia, you've got Riyadh, which has 8 million. You know, so. Yeah, that's enormous difference in terms of climate. Obviously, culturally, very different places, and Australia is built on multicultural foundations. So there's people from everywhere. There's lots of people from Italian, Greek descent. Now there's a lot of people that come from China, India, etc. Apart from obviously the Anglo-Saxons and the First Nations, the Aboriginal.
Wow, this is really impressive. I don't know if you are interested in writing paper. I missed it reading, but we architects and you are also urban planners and you have such a tourism background and very very good analyzing perspective. There might be so many interesting papers.
maybe, but I'm not sure if people read very much anymore.
No. We should know that actually it is tourism, so that you are in that area, that country that tourism really developed. So your opinion, your perspective, really valuable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now you're working with GAL.
Yes.
We have to come there.
Yes.
How important is human scale design today?
Well, when Django realized in a great measure through his wife, a psychologist, that architects were concerned with the object, like the building, and weren't concerned that much with the human interaction. When he realized this back in the 70s, he then thought, well, why is it that architecture that builds buildings and spaces is not concerned with the user? And so what happened is that then he gathered his observations, and these observations made their way into the book, Life Between Buildings, which is a very, very famous book. And so that with other thinkers like Jane Jacobs, etc., marked the end of the pure modernist period of urban planning, that had been led by the likes of Corbusier and Siam. So when that ended, it was a transition period. And so that thinking is now more important than ever. Why is it more important than ever? Because more and more cities and towns are trying to attract talent. They're trying to attract the best of the best. And the best way of attracting people is through great opportunities to experience a place. Lifestyle, it's called. So that human scale makes that city or place very desirable. So that's why I'm very impressed. You walk around, Baku, and you get that sense of of a city that has the scale, generally very well thought out. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, I would love to come back here and visit with my family, etc. And that's the other dimension. So you want to attract talent. Also, tourism is an enormous industry. It's actually the industry that has the most amount of employment worldwide, and also that very much is based on experiences. You can build many new hotels, but if there's nothing to see and do, if there's nothing that people can walk and experience, the beautiful market, the history, they might come once, but that will be it. You know. And the third and final thing is related to the environment. So human scaled environments generally are much healthier for the people that live there, work there, and health impacts like type 2 diabetes exploding around the world. So we've become less active in general. You know, a few exceptions, but in general less active. So that means that environments that don't encourage people to walk, that are not human scaled, are very unhealthy for you. And also, obviously, there are environments where you have to drive more, so it's more expensive to own a car, and you have, if the car is petrol, fuel, more emissions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It will affect our environment.
100%.
Exactly.
So that's why, you know, human scaled environments are not just about the look, they're not just about feeling nice, they're functionally, if well done, they can be functionally superior.
Exactly, right, and sustainability, of course, in the point. As a last question, I want to combine my two questions all together. Like, looking back at your journey, what projects or moments are you most proud of? And we can connect this question to another one that, and with that point of view, what advice would you give to young architects? That they should be very careful, they should be more aware of that.
Yes. It's difficult because you know when you've had a few years of experience, you sort of, you know, sometimes you don't remember all of the details of what you've done. I think I'm very proud of a recent project that just finished in September. This project was the Hobart Design Guidelines. So just before coming over to Riyadh to work, I was leading the urban design team in the city of Hobart, which is the capital of Tasmania in Australia. And for the first time ever, we did you could call them like urban design, public realm guidelines. What's contained in them, the majority, won't surprise you know any good architect or urbanist in general. But why I'm very proud of them is because the team, we made sure that they were developed with the community groups, with the developers, and also with the professional associations, landscape architects, urban planners. And so it is deeply embedded in the DNA of Hobart. So that means that if you're a designer from Sydney or yourself, imagine you end up doing a small project in Hobart in 5 years' time, you can pick up these guidelines and get a sense of how you should approach design in Hobart, for Hobart and Hobartians, that respects its history, its topography, it's a small city in a large landscape, as my fellow urban designer Lee Woolley, who's been there many decades, likes to explain, and also that in a way that also responds to sort of the market desires, what people really want there.
Exactly.
And it got approved unanimously by all of the community groups in Hobart. First ever document that's ever done that. Because normally, community groups are not that happy with certain things, so we got it across the line. So I'm very proud of that one. In terms of things that I've learned, for better or for worse, has been that I think anything you do, just try to fully embrace it. So I've never had a very strong you know, career path in the sense of I must go to this organization next, I must do this, I must do that. But when an opportunity comes up, I try to make the most of it.
Exactly.
Right? So that would be my biggest advice, because you never know where life is going to take you, and you never know what you're going to get out of it. And that will build you as a full, sounds silly, but as a full human being.
So we shouldn't reject all of the possibility in our life, and no need to plan a strict pathway.
Yes.
You should just use the all opportunities.
Yes.
For your positive way.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, it's not to say that look, if you want to do architecture and someone offers you to be an accountant, I mean, that's completely different. But if there's something related, or there's an opportunity to say do a community event where you help others learn about design, well,
so do that.
Give it a try.
Thank you, Jaime. It was really nice to have you here in a busy time of your busy time in movement.
Yours too. For everyone. Yes.
Thank you. I'm really grateful to you.
Yes. Thank you very much for having me, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.